Hi, I'm Alana Lawson with Elite Traveller TV, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with food critic Andy Hayler at Hedone restaurant in London. Lovely to meet you, Andy. Now, you hold the title of the only person to have eaten in every 3-star Michelin restaurant in the world. That must be extremely hard to maintain, is it?
Well, certainly it was a lot easier in the old days because in 2004 I did this the first time, and at that point there were only, I think, 49 restaurants, and they were all in Europe, so it was, it wasn't that difficult in a way to do. Michelin around 2006 started to expand and went to America, and then expanded to China and also to Japan. So certainly it's involved a lot of trips to particularly Japan over the last few years, which is no great hardship because personally I think the food in Japan is of an extraordinarily high level, and it's a very enjoyable country to visit.
Absolutely. What do you look for in a restaurant of Michelin standard?
The same thing as you're looking for with any good meal really, which is good quality ingredients, high standard of technique, so the cooking technique should be strong, good presentation of the food, it should look attractive, and also dishes that make sense, where what I mean by that is that where the flavours are sort of harmonious and go together and they're not too many elements and they're not clashing. So if you look for those four things, is what I tend to look for in a meal. I think that probably that's the sort of thing that Michelin's looking for as well, I guess. They're very secretive about their process.
So do you use the Michelin Guide as a guide for the restaurants you choose to review, or is that based on personal choice?
It's still the most reliable of the guides out there. It's a bit like Churchill said of democracy, it's the very worst form of government except all other forms that have been tried. I don't necessarily agree with every single sort of star award that they have, but it's certainly for me it's a filter. So something that gets 3 stars at least is at least must have some merit, you would hope, and to me is therefore worth making a journey to try and explore.
And on a personal note, have you had a standout dining experience?
I think of all the restaurants I've been to over the years, still for me my absolute top experience was at a restaurant called Jaman in Paris when Joel Robuchon was cooking, and although I've had individual dishes elsewhere as good as some of the dishes at Jaman, I never really had a consistent meal of that quality. I've certainly had some very fine meals. I had a very interesting meal quite recently at a new 3-star in Spain called Azumendi, which is near Bilbao, and that's a place which again puts a lot of emphasis on local produce. They grow all the vegetables in outside in greenhouses on the premises, and that was sort of a meal I particularly enjoyed because I didn't know much about Azumendi. It's quite a newish restaurant. It's come up very, very quickly, and I wasn't expecting it to be at quite such a high standard so quickly.
Now, you've clearly been in this industry a long time. What spurred you to become a food critic?
Well, I actually sort of moved into it gradually. In fact, it was a sort of a hobby that's become sort of something more than that over the years. So I first did a book on restaurants in 1994, actually around just about London restaurants, which was published some years back. And over the time, I produced a website following on from the book. That website started to get quite a lot of traffic. A lot of chefs started to come to the site and ask me questions. The food bit has just sort of grabbed more of my time than before. I just really enjoy finding really, really good food. I'm always an optimist when it comes to restaurants. I always get very excited about going to a new place. No matter how many I do, I eat out 4 or 5 nights a week, and when I go to a new restaurant, I'm always sort of excited. Now, quite often that excitement turns out to be sort of misplaced, but I always have I always feel very positive towards new places, and what is very exciting is when you've come across somewhere that you weren't expecting to be particularly great, and it turns out to be terrific. There's an example of this fairly recently. There's a little restaurant which is really unknown in the food industry, I think, outside of a few people. A little place in San Sebastian called Ibai, which has no Michelin stars. I went there on the recommendation of somebody I trust. I had an extraordinarily good meal. I mean, it's really remarkable. And things like that really excite me to go somewhere I really didn't have any great expectations of. You couldn't read any reviews about it because they don't exist. And I just couldn't believe how good it was. And that was that gave me a real sense of joy, to find something that was just tremendous.
Undiscovered.
And I wasn't expecting it.
And speaking of top-notch restaurants, Elite Traveller is about to announce its list of the top restaurants in the world, top 100 restaurants. Do you think there'll be any surprises on the list?
Well, I certainly hope so. The thing I like about the Elite list is that it's driven heavily by paying customers, so people who read the magazine, who then vote. And I think this is very important in a way to distinguish it from some other things that are out there, because many lists, I think, are easily influenced now by PR agencies. There's a lot of fashion in it. Just the fact it's real customers signing a check. Those people, to me, have got the best possible view of what's good out there.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Andy. It's been a pleasure speaking with you today.
Thank you.